All right, good morning, everyone. Futures Brizio here. Hope everybody had a great weekend. It is Monday, October 27th, 2025, about 10:30 a.m. New York City time. And sorry if I sound a little nasally. I think I'm fighting a little cold here, guys. So just bear with me. And it's going to keep the camera off because I don't look that great today. Anyways, I hope everybody had a great weekend. And as always, make sure before we get started, you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're just finding it for the first time. And make sure that you put any questions or comments down below. So we're just going to jump right in. And as usual, we're just going to do a quick rundown of the markets just based on um, commercial commitment of traders, seasonality, and technical patterns. Again, just beating the dead horse that again we do not have commercial commitment of traders data updated. We have now gone 1 month since our last update. So as long as the U.S. government stays shut down, we are not going to be getting those updates. So we can't really use COT right now. So we're just basically sticking to seasonality trends and combining that with just price action and market structure. And where I don't use seasonality, then it would just strictly be price structure and market action. Though I'm being cautious in taking any of those type of positions because I do like to have the COT component if there's no seasonality component. And so we don't have that right now. So this chart you're looking at right here is one of those examples. So let's just jump right in. We'll talk about it. So this is the British pound futures. And again, I've just been watching these very, I really have not been trading them because again, I don't have any COT data to go by. But if you look at what's happening now, this is only a 1 hour chart. But you can see I in the last video I made, I mentioned this huge spike. This was the US CPI data, inflation data that came out on Friday. A little better than expected. Well, better for the U.S. consumers. A little bit lower than what was anticipated in the reading. And although this is British pound, has nothing to do with the U.S. dollar, the dollar affects so many markets, there was a reaction. So that's what this big wick is right here. This is the news that this was the 8:30 a.m. news from last Friday. But putting that all aside, you can see we were making lower lows and lower highs. After that big spike, we grabbed a bunch of liquidity here. We did make a new low. But you can see what's happening since then. This is basically, overnight and, basically the late session on Friday and then overnight Sunday and then so far today through the London session, etc. And we are trying to make some stair-stepping higher lows and higher highs just in this zone right here. Now, I don't think that necessarily negates the downtrend yet, but it is interesting because if you look back at these last few pullbacks on this downtrend, you don't have this market structure here, like this pullback, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. They're just like kind of like just, pullbacks, mostly blue candles and and then the price. But here, we went run up. I mean, this is like a trending pattern right here. And so now, I've got these two little red lines. This one represents the current swing low because this hasn't gone up and made a new high yet. If this does go and make a new high, then obviously I take this one off and this will become our swing low. So I am watching this one just for technical buying here. The COT report, the last one we got, which again, admittedly is a month old, was suggesting higher prices in the British pound. So I have no idea if this is it. We don't have any update. I don't have any way of knowing where the commercials and the large specs are sitting right now. So I can't really go by that. But, we were expecting to see those higher prices eventually. So is this the turn? Or, is this just a bounce? I don't know. Of course, I would love to see it, come in like take this area out. I mean, this is a resistance area that's been now tapped a couple of times, right here, right here. Essentially this whole area right here. This whole area right here. And so we'll see. But I might think about a long position if I got a good signal, at least back up to this area. I don't know if I would take it beyond here. If I got up here, if I wasn't along and I got up here, I'd probably exit and then just wait to see what happened. But if it gets through here, then that might be, a bigger turn. So I'll keep an eye on that one. At least find the pattern interesting. And if we jump over, just finishing the currencies, look at the Australian dollar. You can remember I was making this video on Friday, and I said, if price gets through this box, you can see this is the box I drew on Friday, and then this is the price action since, again, the overnight session today and into where we are now. And you can see we have broken out of that. So, and remember what I was saying Friday, we even though we were in this consolidation pattern, we were starting to make higher lows anyways, not necessarily higher highs. We were kind of capping off, but the sellers were running into issues here getting any momentum. Every time they tried, they were less and less successful. So it does appear we have a breakout now. Now, on the flip side, the last COT data suggested that the Australian dollar would go down. And of course, it has been going down. And if we zoom out a little bit here, here's the 4-hour chart. Let's see when this high was. This was back over a month ago. So this was about when we got the last COT report saying lower prices. And sure as enough, prices did break down over the last month. And then we kind of bottomed out and then started trying to push higher. And then here we are now. So like the British pound, we've got kind of like back into this previous range as kind of a swing low here on the hourly chart, and then we maybe potentially this would turn into a swing low if this goes up and makes a high. So I am watching both of these just to see what we get, and could, at least from a technical standpoint, be some long setting up here. But I'm going to be very patient. Again, this is only a 1-hour chart. So certainly if we're going to get any big turns here, these can go on for quite a while. So, all right, on to soybean complex. So this again is soybean oil. And this kind of looks like a lot like what the Australian dollar looked like, right? Even though we have not been able to go higher here, we have been slowly making higher lows, not higher highs, but higher lows. So, but we are still kind of capping it. These are all overlapping ranges because we have not been able to pop through to new highs. I mean, yes, we had this little wick right here, but essentially price has been inside this range here. And, these waves are all overlapping. So, and it's more sideways than it is up. So, but there are higher lows here. So, there's the 4-hour chart. If we go to the 1-hour, you can see, I know I got a lot of lines drawn on here, but, essentially, I'll just extend this trend line now. We are still obviously respecting the trend line. People obviously are watching that. I guess we can move this. This is kind of like any breakthrough. This low would represent lower prices. Not necessarily the current one. I like to look back at like at least one previous one. So, but you can see we're respecting the trend line, but we just can't seem to get any momentum going higher. I mean, just look at this, all in here, just chop, 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 chop. Again, don't have COT data, but from the standpoint of seasonality, we do have a bullish stance. However, I did mention this on the last video. For soybean oil, seasonality on soybean oil does tend to dry up a little quicker. I'm more conservative on reading these seasonality charts, but essentially mid-November, this tends to peak. And if we just go and look at these seasonality charts here. Hold on a second, guys. 1 second, guys. All right, sorry about that, guys. So you can see here, this is the soybean oil seasonality chart. And of course, this green dot on the red line is where we are right now. You can see we have a general uptrending posture here until about the second week in November. And then you can see there's a general turn down from about then through about mid-December. But then prices do start to tend to climb again. But it's not like real consistent here. And it looks like we have another dip from like say late February through late March, and then we tend to get upward sloping, from then until about June. So soybean oil is a little bit, choppy, and then we get this downtrending period from late July through um, early October. Is to me is the most consistent view of this entire asset. So but the bottom line is we look at where we are now and we're looking at potentially higher prices for a couple of weeks, and then we may see a larger move down seasonally, or at least a flattening. The 10 and 15 year tend to flatten after that, and then it generally starts to slope up again. So we could be looking at, again, similar to soybeans and soybean meal, we could be still looking at a longer term seasonal up move, but with some, periods where things tend to go down and flatten. Um, and we're in that flattening area on the price chart right now, but the seasonality chart should be up. So, we'll have to see. But so it's just of those three, soybean oil is just not the one I'm going to really waste a lot of time on. I do think there's better options with things like um, soybean meal and soybeans right now instead of soybean oil, because you can just see how choppy it is. Okay, all right. So moving on, I did throw hogs up on here on the board. I'm not interested in trading it right now, but this is lean hogs 4 hour chart. And again, if we look at seasonality on hogs, we generally tend to start to see prices move up around mid-November. So that's why I put it on the board, because mid-November through about mid-February, we have a pretty clean seasonal uptrend that tends to play out. So I'm going to watch hogs over the next couple of weeks, see if we start to get a move higher. It is moving down still right now, so I'm not interested in trading it, but I'm just going to watch it. It's just kind of on the back burner right now, but that's why I have hogs up here. Okay, soybean meal. I was in a long position. I just closed it about a half an hour ago, right here, and chances are this is probably going to keep going up. But I did close it because we are sitting at some pretty major resistance up here at these two previous. This is the 6 hour chart. You can see a couple of areas, but again, from a seasonality standpoint, this thing probably has a long way to go. So I'm just going to wait and see what happens here. I've had a very nice little trade going. I would love to see prices kind of get through this area right here that we're bumping up against. And if we can get a break above here, then I probably will think about re-entering a long position. Um, if you can actually extend this all the way back here, you can see this area right in here has generally been an area of resistance. And on the 1 hour chart, we came down, and it looks like we're struggling to go higher, although, you know, um, on these previous moves up. Remember, these are Heikin-Ashi candles, guys. But you can see the last, several trading hours, anyways, on this hourly chart, we're kind of struggling to go a little bit higher here. And that's probably because, again, everybody else is seeing this area too. So there's probably some either profit taking or selling going on. So I just chose to close that trade for now. It doesn't mean I think the downtrend is over. Remember, again, from a seasonality standpoint, that soybean meal is basically bullish through early January at least. So I do still think we've got a couple of months to go, but we might be just taking a little breather here at these highs, and that's fine. So I'm just going to keep an eye on it. I'm not saying I'm done with the bullish stance on this, but I mean, I've taken out most of this run right here, which has been really nice. And I just chose to put it aside for now. But again, any break through this zone would is what I'll be watching for. And if we get a nice little, a little bigger pullback here with maybe a couple of red Heikin-Ashi candles, that actually would be really good, as long as they're not like just giant, flat, flat bottom ones or flat top ones that just kind of really push lower here. I'm definitely still be looking, any type of pullback here, would be a buying opportunity. I've been, watching it on the hourly chart, because you can see these little moves like this have been really great entry points. Um, but you can see again, we're struggling a little bit here, and that does catch my eye just because of this zone up here. So let's see. But I am overall, I'm still bullish this market. I'm just taking a breather from it. So all right. So we'll go on to corn. So corn again has these really crazy pullbacks, and you can see right now we're in one of those today. But you can see it has these really crazy pullbacks. Let me just clean this chart up. Get rid of all that stuff. So again, okay, so this is what catches my eye. This is the last major swing point here. And you can see we're pulling down here. We had a very impulsive move out of that area. If we go and look a little bit higher, this is sort of like soybean meal. This is the 6-hour chart where again we've got kind of these highs sitting over here at this last move. So this is clearly why this is well, to me it's clear why this is reacting off of this area, because everybody else sees this area, so it's a good place for people to take profit. But again, from a seasonality standpoint, corn is still in an uptrend basically through all the way through February. All right, started in August, it goes basically through February. So we still potentially have several months of bullish potential here on corn. Doesn't mean it will. I mean, every year can be different. But if the overall seasonal trends, and as I've mentioned before, of all the grain markets, corn is the most consistent in terms of when you look at a seasonality chart. It is the most consistent of all of them. I guess I can bring it up really quick here. I'm really having trouble with my browser. Like I'm clicking here, guys, it's not doing anything. So I don't know what's going on. Okay, so let's just bring this up here. And we'll just look at corn really fast. And I've shown this before. So you can see a clear, kind of bottoming here in August, and then a clear up move that basically last week swing back to the other side of the chart into, early to mid Feb. And then we kind of like move choppy for a while into April. We have a little spike up from, basically the end of March through about mid-April. End of March until about the end of April. So for about a month, we have a little kind of general rise, and then we have this big move down. So these are the two areas that I look at. This up move from the end of August through February, and then this down move. This little area right in here, I could take it or leave it. There's not much right here. And then you get about a 3 or 4 week period where it tends to trend up. This probably has to do with like planting season and unsure about what the weather will be for the spring or whatever. So tends to push prices higher, and we could be dealing with like lower inventory on, the crop from last year. So that could be causing a general trend here. But again, you can clearly see the two areas I'm most focused on, clearly downtrending here and then clearly uptrending here. So we're in that uptrending phase. And to me, this is just looks like, to set up for another potential buying opportunity to me. But obviously, this is a resistance area that's being seen by a lot of people. This is an old alert I have on here. I'm just going to get rid of that. So here's where we are. And this is the swing point. As long as this area holds, then everything's still cool. I am in a long on this. Here's the hourly chart. Here's my entry back here at 2 pullbacks ago. And I probably will move my stop up here to probably I'll probably move it up to just below this area right here, which would at least lock in a tiny bit of profit if the bottom falls out, which I don't think it will. And if this tries to turn and go back up, if we get some bullish candles here, like on a shorter time frame, here's the 15. If I start to see some bullish price action here on the 15, I actually probably will add to this position. So nice pullback area. As long as we maintain structure, we're still long on that. So, all right. And then lastly, we're going to talk about crude oil. Now, again, I don't have any commitment of traders data on crude oil. Okay. We do have, so we're just looking at, we've got a major resistance area. Price obviously reacted off this, started to trend down again. But But if we go to the 4 hour, we put Heikin candles on, we can see, this, I mentioned this in the video on Friday about this big move up, and then we had this spike down here. And, obviously a reaction off of this zone. And then we've got this move up. Okay. So from a seasonality standpoint, um, crude oil is basically in a downtrend, supposedly from October through early December. Okay. So I am going against the seasonality here, and I do not have any. I do not have any commercial of trade commitment of traders, obviously. Now, the only reason why and from a fundamental standpoint, you would think this market would be going lower because we have, in the United States, we have President Trump, who's very pro on drilling and increasing oil supply for us. And so, and he has been very, and we have seen, gas prices drop and oil prices clearly dropping. And gas is obviously one of the products that are produced from crude oil and refining, right? So even though this is not gasoline, you can trade gasoline. I don't, but this is crude oil. So you would think that, with him, and he's trying to open up more exploration, that would push prices lower. But you have to remember, though, also that prices did get super low. So we got down here. These are not historic lows by any means, but, this is pretty well below where the market likes to tend to trade from. Okay. And so, let's see here. Crude oil. Yeah. So if we look out on crude oil, let's go to like a weekly chart here. You can see, generally, we tend to trade between about, 60, the long range here, excuse me, between about 60 and probably $85 a barrel. And so we're at the low end of that scale now. So I do expect this to recover a little bit. But again, guys, it is definitely against the fundamentals. So this, this is a relatively small position, a couple of contracts here. So, we'll see what happens. But technically, it looked pretty good because you can see, again, it rejected off this area, came down. We did have kind of a sweep of liquidity below these lows, which is pretty classic. I guess you can see it on the 1 hour chart here, right? We came down here. We had these lows. We swept here. We had a couple of candles close below, and now we're right back into the range again. So it's in a small profit now. The key will be if we can come up and break through this rectangular area, or if it just comes up here again and then falls off again. If it does, then obviously I'll be out. But if we can get through here, then I think we could see a little run higher, at least back up to maybe these highs around, what is that, 80, 84, $85. Back up around here would be a nice short-term target. So anyway, so I am long in crude just based on this. I was waiting for price to get up to here and see what it did. And it did, of course, reject, which I expected to see. But looks like it is trying to go higher. So let's see if the buyers can jump in. Again, this is where I would love to have commitment of traders, but I don't because we do not have seasonality on our side right now. Okay. We don't. Okay. So, I have to be honest because that's what I talk about on this channel. But you can see right here, October through early December, we generally trend down. But, and we're about a month away from that, right? We're at the end of October, so we basically still have potential for lower prices, all the way through December, and then and even then you can see I don't have anything showing up prices until May. So what that probably means is that it's more choppy after that through through the winter. So let's actually take a quick look, and then we'll wrap this video up. Excuse me, because I don't know how long my voice is going to last, guys. So here we go, right? October through early December. This is what I was talking about. And then from about, you know, early, the first week of December, and then we roll back over to here, excuse me, through about mid to late February, prices tend to rise. But you can see this year, during that time, was just the opposite. Prices dropped during that time. And so, the seasonality did not play out, but that can happen. And this down move right here is really the Trump effect. Trump came into office in January of this year. Okay. And that's when we started seeing prices go down with the anticipation that he would, uh, uh, grow supply, which would drive prices down. And it did. So this is pretty predictable just in terms of kind of geopolitics that kind of defied the seasonality generally. But you can see, we do tend to get a little bit of a rise basically from that early December period through about end of February, beginning of March. So we could be looking at that. And so maybe we'll get that thrust early. And this is basically seasonal. Obviously more like heating oil, which is another byproduct of crude oil. Obviously, we go into winter, depending how cold, the colder the winter is, and any other supply constraints is going to drive prices higher. And that's why we generally see those prices rise through the winter months, with this year being the exception to the seasonal rule. And then, coming out of the winter, prices tend to like flatten or go down. And then we have this kind of rise again, which I do have noted on my chart from about May through mid to late June anyways. And then we have again a general drop off again from July through, let's say, early September. Just again, going through the summer months, less demand. Obviously there's no heating oil demand that time of year, in the northern hemisphere anyways. And so prices tend to fall off. So it's a little bit choppy with crude oil, but the bottom line is currently we should be seeing lower prices, and we are trending lower. I mean, we had this move up. This is that up move you're seeing on the chart. This whole graph basically is a daily chart. So this was from October 20th through where we are today. So it's like Thursday of last week to where we are today. But you can see we are, if you just look at trends, even on just a line chart, we are still basically trending lower. So again, getting back to my trade, this may or may not end up working out. It's more of a speculative technical trade, but we'll see how it goes. So, all right. So yeah, that's it, guys. I don't see any potential sign, anything coming up in terms of the U.S. government reopening and getting our COT data back. So we are just going to continue on this track with just looking at seasonality and gauging our moves based on that primarily, and secondarily using some technical patterns. And the one again that I'm kind of bumping the trend on in terms of seasonality is this crude oil trade. So we'll keep an eye on. If I end up getting stopped out, then so be it. But we'll see. Right now, it's in a small profit, as you can see. But this will be the key if it can bust through this area. And if it does, again, I'll target probably back up around around this area here, which is around $65 or so, which would give it about another $4 a barrel from where it is now. So anyways, all right, guys, so I'll leave it there. Questions, comments, leave them down below. Hope everybody has a great rest of the day. I'll be back if there's anything good to report. I think I did mention I am traveling. I'm going to be heading out this evening. I'll be back on Wednesday evening. So there's a high probability I won't be making any videos during the day, tomorrow or Wednesday. I may try to jump in here perhaps tomorrow night when I'm settled back in, but I wouldn't expect I'll be back on here for a daytime video until probably Thursday. But if you have any questions, comments, leave them down below. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to everybody soon.